to the Dignity Dialogue with your host, Joe Kittinger.
All right, another Dignity Dialogue. I'm here with April Johnson. I'm Joe Kittinger, and we are on a 4-part series with leadership development. And April, why don't you introduce the topic today?
All right. Well, today we're going to have a little bit of fun talking about continual learning.
We always have fun, don't we, April?
Well, we do. We do. I think we do anyway. I hope you do.
I think sometimes, like, if you're not having fun in your way, now everyone has experiences different levels of fun, right? Fun can be analytic. Fun doesn't have to be laughing and goofing and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not having fun, then you can't be productive, in my opinion. Like, if you're not enjoying what you do.
Well, that's because you are totally fun country.
Well, I'm fun country, but I mean enjoying, even if you're an analytic and you're allowed to do analyzing, that's fun for you, right?
Yes.
So we're going to always have fun because we're passionate about this topic.
Yes.
I know it's a fun country like diatribe that I just did right there, but I was inspired to say it. Okay, so I'm sorry. Back to our leadership development.
It's going to be awesome. Well, it is a great topic. It's one of my most fun things to do. I love to teach. I love to learn. And so it just seems like the right place to go in this whole idea of leadership development. And it's hot right now. Of course, we work with lots of companies, whether they're on the East Coast, West Coast, Mid Coast.
Every coast.
Everyone that we work with. Yeah, it is the Midwest. I was like, is it really the Midwest? But everybody we talk about, we end up in a conversation about how do I develop my people?
And continue it.
Yeah, and continue the process. Like, once they get in and they're onboarded and, you've got your typical training elements that happen, and then it kind of drops off, right? You have a little bit of that segue, like they have to get used to their job, their role, like all those kinds of things. But after a period of time, especially about a year in, people start to wonder, like, what else can I learn?
Yes.
How can I develop myself?
It has to be ongoing. And not only that, I think everything builds on each other, right? Everything builds on each other. And I was taught a long time ago that it's more important to be reminded than instructed. It's more important to be reminded than instructed. And the metaphor that I recall from years ago, they talked about the ABCs. When you learned the ABCs in first grade or kindergarten, it wasn't just, hey, here are the ABCs. Here you go. Now let's start writing, right? No, it was you walked into the classroom and it said D, door, and W, window, and you had the ABCs on top. You might have watched Sesame Street.
Right.
You go home, at noon.
You sang the song.
Yep, you sing the ABC song. You get reminded over and over. Then you apply it to writing, and then you wrote. At least I remember those books. See Dick run, or
yes.
See Jane do this.
See Jane walk.
Yes,
Jane walks fast.
Right. So these were the Dick and Jane novels of the first grade, right? Where we're learning what letters mean and how they get applied to practical use, and that's really whether you're talking about emotional intelligence, whether you're talking about how to structure companies and learn strategy. It's all going back to see Jane and Dick walk and run, right?
Be
and
reminded.
Their pets and all that stuff, because you have to apply it. And so this whole idea of continual learning, I want you to consider if you want to install any sort of training program into your company for your employees, you want to have a sustainable learning model where it's not necessarily more and more content, it's more and more reminding.
Yes.
Right, dialogue. It's one thing to buy content out of a box and now say, go learn it if you want to. That's the biggest mistake that I have seen in industry.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. That idea of, okay, take this course, or, go out and take the class online, or here it is, here's the box that has everything in it, right? So then you do it, you learn it, and then you do nothing else with it.
Well,
there's not an application.
Yes.
I think one of the best things that companies can do is to make sure that if you're teaching something, you're also connecting to the practicality of what does that mean for what you're doing right now with my company, right? But also right now with just life? How do you connect all of the dots to what you just learned? Then it becomes real. I think that practical application is super important.
Absolutely. If you can't apply it, then it's just like the example of the first grade, right? I have all these letters. Now, how do I apply it to make words? And then how do those words become sentences, right? And then paragraphs, and then cursive writing, which they don't even teach that anymore, I don't think.
I don't think so.
They're learning keyboards right away. I didn't learn how to type until I was in high school. Best course I ever took.
Well, it's useful, that's for sure. Today, that's for sure. Yeah. And all those things took practice.
Yes.
Right? We had to practice them.
More
I know
skills.
For myself, being somebody that struggled with the process of learning. I was a kid that had a lot of learning disabilities, a lot of reading disabilities in particular. So the ABCs made sense as the ABCs. I knew them in order. I knew how to sing them and sang it very well. And I knew that, but I struggled to make the connection that those same ABC words were the words that I was reading in the Dick and Jane book, if you will, right?
Sure.
Like putting those together. And so having to see the way that I learned to read was by seeing it in other formats in very practical places. Understanding that the bathroom had letters from the ABC. Right? It has to be something that is continually practiced in all areas of learning. So, example, I'm thinking of one of the classes that we teach, one of the courses that we have, right, in learning and leading and managing, right? We talk a little bit about this idea of time management, right? And how do we get better at time management? And everybody theoretically would like to take a few courses in time management and then all of it magically happens and my schedule is managed well. And I have all the time in the world.
Way?
It does not.
No, it doesn't
happen that way, right? We have to experiment a little bit. We have to try something and adapt that time edge. We have to try something like doing a project with a timer. So we really understand and connect how long does it really take to do this project. Some people learn better by doing.
That's right.
Some people learn better by reading. Some people learn better by listening. Right? We all have these different ways of learning. And so it doesn't change from when we're kids.
Right. It doesn't change. That's
it doesn't
the biggest
change.
thing.
It doesn't change.
The process, and yet we try to shortcut the process.
Yeah.
So think about it. When you went to formal education, there was a teacher, a live human being. There was a curriculum that the teacher was teaching. And then there was application of the lesson. If you want to create a continuous learning environment around leadership and training and anything, you need those three elements. And yet we try to shortcut it. We try to think, you know what, I'm going to take this thing off the shelf, which is great content. The curriculum's been done. The researchers have done it. The scientists are absolutely spot on, but there is zero live connection with a human being. It's only videos. And like you said, some people learn that way, but many do not. And then it goes in, we hear they're going one ear out the other. It's just because of distraction.
Right.
So we have to get the motor skills to apply it before you keep moving on to more information. And another mistake that folks make that you can avoid if you are looking to create a continuous program is it's optional. Well, I'm sorry, but if you raise kids, right, it's optional that you eat your vegetables. It's just optional. You can just go right to dessert. You don't have to have any protein. You can just go right to the dessert. It wasn't optional when I grew up, right? It's not optional. No. Like if you really want to create a culture of awesome, confident leaders, it's a requirement to get into this level. It's a requirement. And the companies who get that and say, this is the process, I want to be a manager someday. Great. Here's pre-manager education. And now we're going to test you on what you've learned. We're going to help you apply it. We're going to have your back. We're going to talk to you with a live person, right? We're going to debate. You're going to have other maybe members in the class that want to be managers as well. But there are certain prerequisites that you have to achieve for you to be a successful manager at our company.
Correct.
You see how powerful that is? Like, we want to grow you. Like, we have expectations. Not you've been here a long time. You're wonderful running that machine. Now we're going to make you a manager or a supervisor.
Right. And often
That's
we
scary.
just slide them in,
That's
right?
scary for them.
We just put them in. We go, hey, congratulations, you're a manager.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be as great as you were running that machine, except that we know that sometimes because I can run the machine really well, it doesn't mean I can lead the people that run the machine
That's right.
really well. I still need to be trained and mentored and fed into in that regard. And that's really where that continual training
Yes.
is so important. And I would take it even farther. Joe, you said it's a requirement. And I agree with you as a company. And from a personal standpoint, I encourage people that are listening, it is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get to continue to learn throughout our life. You know, we get to learn things that will make us not just a better leader, a better person.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's a better dad, a better mom, a better friend, a better community person, whatever that might be, we have an opportunity that gets placed in front of us. And I think even for companies, when you start to think about the cost that comes with continual learning, you start to think about the time, right?
Yeah.
You pull people off of a production floor. And we have clients who we've had to walk through that process with them and they get it. Like, wait a minute, it is worth it.
Yes.
It is worth pulling them off that production floor because they are growing as a person. And as they grow as a person, they grow as a leader. As they grow as a leader, their team grows. And my whole company grows because of that, 90 minutes a week or, 5 hours in total or whatever it is in that mentoring time.
Yeah.
It all fits together when it comes to continual learning.
I agree. And there's this whole question of ROI.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think you can be intellectually honest. Okay. I'm going to throw this out there. I don't think anyone here could be intellectually honest and say that if you don't better the person, you're not going to better your ROI. I mean, really, if we're going to be intellectually honest, why do you go to college for higher education? Because you want to have a job and maybe some jobs require a degree in that. Why do you have to go to all these doctor school before you can be a doctor or a lawyer because you've got to sharpen the skills. You have to understand, you have to raise your competence, and then you can become a great lawyer or a doctor. Why do the rules change for a supervisor or a manager?
Right.
So when people say, well, it's hard to get an ROI on it, are you serious? Like seriously, are you serious? Or how about, what if I train them and they leave? And I say, what if you don't train them and they stay? Good Lord. Think about that one.
Focus on the stayers. We say that, right? We want to focus on the stayers.
So
your stayers have got to be able to be trained.
Yeah, if you're going, I don't know if there's an ROI, then this isn't for you because you're not being intellectually honest. Of course, if you better the person, they're going to better their role. I mean, that's just math. Mm-hmm. That's just a reality. So if you're looking so here, what are some lessons we've talked about so far? Make sure you have some live coaching, and it can be an internal person too.
For sure.
It could be a person who facilitates dialogue. It's okay to get some curriculum that's recorded and they watch it, but maybe bring them in a room to watch it together and then have dialogue about it. Have a series where they're working at that skill set, for a period of time before you move on to the next skill set. So create a community of dialogue, real people, good sound curriculum, and put it in a system where we're doing this once a month on Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month. This is when we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Create routine. People love routine.
Oh,
they love to know when is the next thing. Like, what's the routine? We are routine creatures. So to create a continuous learning environment, there has to be a sense of routine because that brings comfort. It's now they get to. They they're encouraged to keep moving on with their journey. If the dialogue is good and the lessons resonate with what they're trying to do.
Right.
Because it's one thing to train someone and when they go, in my job, I really won't use that. Well, then that becomes a disservice to them. So make sure that whatever curriculum you teach, they can apply in a very practical, simple way within their day-to-day activity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with the group element. Having some group training is so crucial. And we know today, especially, after COVID, right? Everybody went inward. We were a lot isolated.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, let's just be real, right? We were a lot isolated. And though having some time to ourselves and time to learn on our own is not necessarily a bad thing, that being the only way is not a good thing either. And so, formulating those groups around that curriculum and being able to gain other perspectives. When you're in a group in a course with 12 other people or 10 other people that you work with, you might all do the same job, but you don't all see it the same way.
No.
And you don't see life the same way, and you're not looking through the same set of lenses. And so, especially for those up-and-coming leaders, that is so beneficial to them to be able to grasp somebody else's way of thinking about strategy, somebody else's way of thinking about empathy, somebody else's way of thinking about just perspective in things. You're gaining so much more. That's not even on the page, right? Like that's not even in the curriculum.
Right.
But you're gaining so much more information by simply coming together with a group of people who are not exactly like you and who think differently than you.
Yeah.
You can't pay enough for that kind of
That's exactly
training.
right. And that goes to also authenticity.
Yeah.
You can learn great, a lot of, there are some leadership programs that teach you techniques, and that I would ask you to try to avoid. Techniques can work for one person, but they may not work for another. I'll give you an example. I was coaching a gentleman who had to have a hard-natured, let's say, direct conversation with an employee on performance, and he grew up. And he's not hard-natured. He's soft-natured. All right, he's thoughtful. He is sincere at heart and faithful. But when he tries to have this hard conversation like his boss wants him to have, who is hard-natured gentleman, we call it from control country, this person came across as phony when they're not authentically them. See, you can be direct, and yes, you need to talk straight about behavior, performance with your direct reports, and you need to do it your way. You can do it in soft-natured ways. Matter of fact, having more empathy and exploring more to correct behavior is way more effective than just cutting to the chase and talking about it. However, there are folks who can cut to the chase and talk about it because that's their gift. They do have a way of going straight without belittling, but their style is very different. So authenticity has to be a part of your continuous training. That's when I say tactics and these sort of things.
Sure.
Won't resonate with everyone. I think that's old school to talk about tactics. I think it's new school to talk about humanity, how we're emotionally wired, understanding the emotional drivers of every person on your team. These are the lessons and the tools and technology that is available today that was not available 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So there's still foundational great stuff and Maxwell books that you can read back from the 80s,
So
for
good.
example. Still sound. And if you see some techniques from some of the older leaders, like Dale Carnegie, for example, some are tried and
Oh my
true,
gosh, yeah.
but some are very outdated because they're tactical. Where we don't have to do that anymore. We can allow you to be authentic, and any great leadership program needs to have authenticity built into it, and you're teaching more principles, and you're bettering the person, and you will see all their roles increase. So think about that. If through a program you can be a better mom,
Right.
or spouse, then you will become a better leader.
Right.
We
And
have to better the
yes.
human and better their roles.
And what an amazing opportunity for people that are coming into your company. You're feeding into them. That's a benefit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when we're looking at where do I want to work, right? Just as a person, where do I want to work? One of the first questions might be pay. The second question, almost inevitably, is what are my benefits, right? And continual learning is a benefit.
Huge.
It's a huge benefit because as when your employee takes that course, takes those things and learns, they take all of that information that they've learned for themselves with them, right? Now, of course, don't we love when somebody gets to stay, right, in our company forever and ever and ever, right? But that doesn't happen as often.
Right.
In today's workplace. But the idea that I can come in and I can have a wonderful experience with you and I can gain knowledge and understanding and perspective. And if I move to something else, if I decide that my life takes a different turn, if I decide I'm going to stay as a woman, if I decide I'm going to stay home and teach my kids or whatever it might be, I have gained knowledge from my time and experience having worked for you. That is a huge benefit.
And that's where I see business having the opportunity to truly change society.
Yeah.
And because you're right, you take those words of wisdom and practical knowledge that help you become a better person and you apply them to your personal life. That's a win. That is a huge opportunity that business has out there to help humanity and help people. So if we were to sum this up, how do you create a sustainable leadership training program? It has to be human. It has to be human. It has to be approachable. It has to have a real live element of real people.
Yep.
Facilitating and coaching. Has to have sound curriculum that allows a person to be authentically them within the context of what they're learning, whether it's strategy or how to lead people or whatever the topic is. And it has to be systematized where there's a routine that's created so that participants just know when they have to show up, and you'll see with the right facilitation, they enjoy it. They look forward to it because it's going to be the best part of their week, the best part of their month. However it's done, make sure routine is there and that everything they learn can be applied to their job. Because Gallup just did a poll that showed that folks coming into the workforce in the last 20 years really are looking to be developed, to be coached, not to be bossed,
Absolutely.
to be coached.
Yep.
And if you provide that, the company will rise. Let's just be intellectually honest about that. You better the person, you know they will better their role, which will produce the ROI that companies so desperately are trying to achieve. We just have to be honest that you grow people,
Yep.
you grow business. That's just how it works.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do. I love training. I love it.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in today. If you want more information on how to embed a continuous training program within where you work, we will be happy to talk to you. We architect that. We can create some custom information for you and based on what your business needs. This is Joe. That is April with another Dignity Dialogue. Have a great week.
See ya.
This has been the Dignity Dialogue with Joe Kittinger. Talk at you later.